you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. And shortly, we will hopefully be joined by our good friend Trip Tracy to talk some Carolina Hurricanes and Washington Capitals as they get ready for Game 5 tomorrow down there in Washington, D.C. But Pierre, let's start things off where we were last night, and that's in Dallas, where the Dallas Stars took a commanding 3-1 lead with a 3-1 victory in Game 4 there. As I said to you, Pierre, this morning when we spoke in our daily briefing, I said, I'm really worried about the Jets now because I felt that was one of their better games thus far in the playoffs. And you replied.
I don't know what I replied.
You said, well,
I know what I
said.
I know what I said.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd be really concerned because I don't think Dallas has played an A game yet either.
Right. So if that's coming,
they're going to play an A game at some point. They didn't play an A game in 1. They didn't play an A game in 2. They lost it 3. They didn't play an A game 4. They didn't play an A game. So they're going to play an A game, and it's probably going to be in Game 5. So we're there. Here's my bigger question coming out of that. Mikael Granlund had a hat trick, and he ripped it up when he was in San Jose. He had a real good run in San Jose. That begs the question, and this is for all the intrepid reporters out there that are doing all the water carrying for all these different people getting jobs. What happened to him in Pittsburgh? Why did he get pulverized in Pittsburgh?
Mm-hmm.
Did Mike Sullivan ever say anything about that? I don't think so.
No.
So you look at his whole career, starting with being drafted 9th overall by Minnesota in the 2010 draft. Go look at his whole career. Even go back to watching him play in Oulu. Go watch him play in IFK in Helsinki before he comes over.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at his Olympic record in 2014 playing on a line with Teemu Selanne. I was there. I know he was a lapdog to Selanne. Whatever Selanne said, this kid follows. Selanne was an amazing mentor to him. There's only one stop in his career where you could say, holy mackerel, what happened there? It was Pittsburgh. So it begs the question, Jimmy, what went on there?
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now.
It's in 22-23.
I don't know. I mean,
but go look at.
Yeah, and he's only there for 21 games. That's it.
They pulverized that kid.
He went right up. Yep. He went to a 60-point season in his first season in San Jose. Battled some injuries. That was 60 points in 69 games. Came back, battled some injuries the following season, but still got 45 points in 52 games. Not too shabby. And this, that was at his time in San Jose this year. And then he added on in another 31 games, the Dallas Stars. He has 21 points in 31 games. So, yeah, I don't know what happened there, Pierre. It's a great question.
I haven't seen one person ask what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh's the only stop where you can say he hit the wall. Something happened there. What happened?
Mm-hmm. No idea. But all I can say is credit to Jim Neal for some of the some more brilliance in his pro scouting department.
Here's what goes on there. Here's what goes on there before you start doling out all the stuff to Jimmy Neal. Okay? Jimmy does a good job. Jiri Lehtinen, there's a reason why they got all these Finns there, and there's a reason why all these Finns are kicking butt there. Jiri Lehtinen is a guy that's doing a lot of that heavy lifting for them. So when a player comes up like Joel Kiviranta, who's now playing in Colorado, Joel Kiviranta was never drafted, and Jiri Lehtinen's a guy that said, you better take this guy and bring him in. Bring him in because he's going to play. And so when Dallas went to the Stanley Cup final in the pod year in Edmonton, it was Kiviranta who had a hat trick to knock Colorado out. Undrafted player. You can track all these Finns, and it goes back to Jiri Lehtinen. But nobody talks about that. Where are all the intrepid insiders?
Yeah. Good for him. I always liked him as a player too, Pierre.
Yuri was a great player.
Really?
He was a winger that won the Selke Trophy. He's a winger that won the Selke. Wingers aren't supposed to win the Selke. I keep hearing that.
Yep.
And I know that Bob Gainey had the award basically created for him. Last I checked, he was a winger. I guess I'm grumpy because I want to know why nobody's asked what happened to Mikael Granlund in Pittsburgh.
You know what, Pierre? I'm going to see. So who we got right now? I'm trying to think of media that I know that are down there covering this series. I'll try and see if I get something. Hey, ask this question. You might stumble upon a great story. Go ask it.
Like I was doing games and watching this, and I'm going, this guy's a really good player. Like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was it that dysfunctional there? Because I know this.
No idea.
They haven't won a playoff series since 2017, and the last 3 years they haven't been in the playoffs. That's what I know.
Mm-hmm. And yet Mike Sullivan just became the highest paid coach in the NHL.
I'm not saying it's Mike. I want to know what happened there.
Yeah. Well, let's get to coaching right now, Pierre, because we did have some coaching announcements. The Flyers just making it official now, but I mean, it's been a secret all day. And even, we've said it here for a while that it made too much sense for Rick Tocchet to end up with the Philadelphia Flyers. And that's exactly where he's going. A 5-year deal worth $25 million. Congratulations to Rick Tocchet. And then also his former assistant in Vancouver takes over for him with the Canucks, and it's Adam Foote. So the coaching vacancies are starting to dwindle here in the NHL. But just your thoughts immediately on Rick Tocchet and what he brings to the Flyers.
Oh, my gosh, a ton. Like a ton. He brings credibility. And, Jimmy, again, the eye test is something that's really near and dear to my heart. So we don't make all this stuff up. There were only 2 places that Rick could go where he could actually sell season tickets, where they need to sell season tickets. One was Pittsburgh. The other one was Philadelphia. They're going to have a big rush of people wanting to be part of the Flyer situation, which is great to me. And I'm so happy for Rick. Rick's a tremendous coach. I remember, Jimmy, it's amazing. Again, I got to get this out of me today, I think. And I'm having a great day. So I don't know why I'm like angry. I'm on edge.
I know why it is. It's the crummy internet connection.
No,
that might be
you're my partner forever. Don't you worry about that part. I know how hard you effort to get. I wish more people worked as hard as you did. Okay.
Thank you.
To try to get on the show. So you just chill out. And if we lose it, we'll just do you on voice. We're good. Okay.
No problem.
So here's the one thing though. So when Rick got the job in Vancouver, remember what everybody says? I can't believe they hired this guy. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's a bad coach. Look what he did in Arizona. Did you see the roster he had? Did you know that in 16 and 17, when Mike Sullivan was the head coach of record in Pittsburgh, his top assistant was Rick Tocchet, keeping things on the rails between some of the players there? I am shocked, and I don't know because Kyle Dubas is overseas. But I don't know how much Pittsburgh entertained trying to hire him. I don't know. I just don't know. I have no idea.
I don't believe they did, Pierre. I think they're looking more for a future coach, a coach that's going to navigate through a rebuild instead of win now. And I think Rick, you would agree, is a little more of a win now guy. He's still great with kids. Don't get me wrong. I think that's a false narrative that he's bad with kids. But I also think he's a better fit for a team that's looking to take it to the next step. And I think the Flyers are looking to take it to the next step with a young core. And that's why I think he's a good fit there. But as for Pittsburgh, I didn't see a fit. Especially, I just don't see him fitting with Kyle Dubas, too. I don't know why. I just feel like they're being honest.
Well, that I don't know. But here's what I do know. Keith Jones and Danny Briere, they're going to be better presidents and better managers because they got Rick Tocchet as their coach.
Yep. And
he's a hockey junkie. He's a hockey junkie. There are a lot of coaches out there that only know their team, which is fine. That's fine. This guy's up on tactics. He's up on tendencies, up on trends. He's up on everything. He's a hockey junkie.
Yep. He is. And, you know, with his media experience now, he does great with the media. He knows how to handle the media, which is good. I know it's not the most important thing, Pierre, but in that market, that's a demanding market of fans and media. I think he's a perfect fit for that as well. I want to tell you something, Pierre, too, and I don't even know if I ever told you this, but when he was with Tampa in his first head coaching gig, I met him on a personal level through our good friend Kevin Stevens. And we talked hockey for a while. And I just remember one of the things that struck me about him at that point in his career was him saying, I love being a sponge to the players and learning about them and learning what I can do for each individual player to help them, to like, what qualities do I have that can help X, Y, and Z players? And that always stuck with me. I'm like, that's a great mindset for a guy to have who's just starting off. And now you see how far he's come. So he obviously perfected that as he went on. But I thought that stuck with me for a while there.
I'm so happy you brought that up. The day he was traded to us in Pittsburgh, I picked he and Shel Samuelson up at the airport in Pittsburgh it was the old airport, not the new airport. Mm-hmm. And rather than go right to the rink, I said, look, I'm going to prepare you for meeting Scotty. So I brought them to breakfast at the William Penn Hotel in downtown Pittsburgh. And it's an eloquent room. It's a really special room. The breakfast room there is really nice. So we sat there, we were having breakfast, and we were going over what our systems are, you know, for the wingers, for the defensemen, for Rick, who's going to be on the power play, not so much in the penalty kill, and for Shelley, who's going to be on the penalty kill. So we were going over, and I said, I'm just warning you guys now. Like, he's going to ask you questions when you get into his office. So I'm giving you a heads up. Like, I'm trying to give you the Cole's Notes version here, but he's going to ask you. So be ready. Rick was so prepared, and Shelley was so prepared.
Wow.
Scotty was like, they really care about our team, huh, Pierre? I'm like, yeah, they do. They're really gunned up. They want to be part of this. Rick's special. Like, both those guys, to me, you know, you win with guys, and you're always going to respect them so much. And I couldn't say enough good things about either guy. They're both fantastic people, and now they get to work together again. Shelley's in Philly, and so is Rick. So it's great.
So we will see now where some of the other teams that still need coaches. Obviously, one of them I'm pretty familiar with, the Boston Bruins. Pierre, we both unrehearsed before the show said we hadn't talked about it. You said, I'm hearing Woodcroft a lot. I said, same with me. But we'll see what happens there. I haven't heard anything confirmed that there's a front runner or anything. I've just heard his name there. I've heard other names. So we will see what happens with the Boston Bruins there. Chicago Blackhawks still need a coach. Pierre,
you know what? Let's go easy on Chicago. Let's see what happens there. There's some guys that are still coaching. They might go a different route. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean they're going a bad route. Does not. Let's take our time on Chicago. You know, look what San Jose did with Warsofsky. You know, a lot of people are like, who, what, where, what? I thought he did with the type of roster that he had last year and the development that he had, especially with Will Smith, which I thought was tremendous, and obviously with Macklin, Celebrini. They did a lot of nice work in San Jose with their team. Now, is it going to be 100% better next year? It won't be 100%. It'll be better next year. I don't think they're a playoff team. And I think maybe Chicago says, you know what, maybe we go that way.
I agree 100%.
Maybe take a guy that can grow with our group.
Yep, I agree 100%.
So I think that's good. See, Philly needs to make a jump. Do you know what I mean, Jimmy? And they need to sell tickets.
Yep.
So Tocchet's going to do both those
things. Yep, exactly.
He's gonna do both those things. That's why I thought it would have been a fit in Pittsburgh. I really did. But he's drafted by the Flyers. He never won he never won the cup with the Flyers, but he's drafted by the Flyers. I think he bleeds their color, their orange color, which is fine. That's good. But I was hoping that somebody in Pitt would say, you know what, we might need this guy, especially to curry favor with Crosby and Malkin and Letang. Because those guys, their best memories are from 16 and 17.
Yeah.
They haven't won a playoff series in 17.
I know.
They haven't been in the playoffs the last 3 years. Let's cut to it there.
Yep. Pierre, I agree with you 100% about Chicago. And a name I keep hearing linked to the Bruins, and then I'm here, just he's interviewing for job, or he can't interview yet, but he will be once his team is out, if the jobs are still available, is Misha Donskov. And I
Right.
wonder if you could just talk. A lot of people don't know much about him. Why would he be a good fit for a team like Chicago? You just talked about having a coach grow with a team. Is he a good fit there?
Yeah, well, he's a developer of players and talent. He's a tactician. Obviously, Pete DeBoer trusts him because when you look at the hierarchy on the bench, he stands right next to Pete.
Yep.
And he's got a piece of notepaper in his hand all the time. He's always taking notes. I've never coached against him. I've never communicated with him hockey-wise, so I don't know what his ideology is or isn't. I know that Dallas is an amazingly well-coached team, so he's part of that. Somebody I was talking to today, we were talking about Mike Sullivan, and we were saying, what pro or con about going to Rangers, and I'm like, pro, because it's instant credibility. The players know what he's about. He's going to go in there. He's not going to be overwhelmed by the theater, so I think pro. And part of what I do know is Mike got that credibility from 16 and 17 because of star players like Malkin, like Crosby, like Letang. They went to the wall for him.
Yep.
But one of the guys that he had that was helping smooth everything out was Rick Tocchet.
Yeah. You're right. Good call.
Never got enough credit for that. I was there doing those games.
Yep.
There was a lot of bickering on the bench.
And Rick evened it off, huh?
He would just, okay. And I think a lot of times he would look at me and I go, and then you could see he'd be like, and when he
Like
gets that look, when he gets the look, it's like, okay, we've done enough now. It's time to calm down.
Gotcha.
But I'm so happy for Rick. I'm really happy for Adam Foote.
Yep.
And I think, again, they hire Adam Foote, and then they announce the signing of Tom Wielander today out of Boston University. Pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool because and you heard Rick. Rick said so many good things about Adam Foote. Yeah. He said so many good things. So I know we're going all over the place, but it's one of those days. It's one of those hockey days.
It is.
We only had one game we only had one game last night.
Yep.
And you didn't think Winnipeg played particularly well. I didn't think Dallas had an A game.
Yep.
But I did think one guy had an A game, and that's why I wanted to know. Why didn't he do well in Pittsburgh? It's the only place I can honestly tell you that Mikael Granlund never played well.
It is a mystery.
It's a huge mystery to me, and I'd like to know. I'd like to know.
All right. Well, maybe we will get to the bottom of that soon. Quickly, too, on one more coaching vacancy there, the one in Seattle, Pierre. What's their direction? We're talking about teams want to take that next step, or teams that are starting at the bottom and want to grow and grow and grow. What kind of coach is a fit for them right now? Because I can't figure out where they are, what their plan is. I don't know. I don't know enough. I'm not on the ground there, but
Jason Botchell, first of all, yeah, but Jason Botchell's a very organized man. I can tell you that from and. Look, Ray Sherrill thought the world of him. Randy Sexton thinks the world of him. Okay. Those are very close friends of mine. Obviously, Ray's passed on, but I worked with those two men. I know how hard the evaluators they are, and when they took Jason in with them in Pittsburgh, there was a huge amount of trust, and they really like the way Jason works. So it'll be orchestrated, it'll be sensible, and it'll be focused. That's what'll happen there. I don't know how much Ronnie Francis has to say in this whole thing anymore. I just don't know. I haven't spoken to Ronnie. The next time I see Ronnie, it'll be at the Hockey Hall of Fame selection meetings, and that's not till the end of June. So I don't know what direction they are, but I have to think, Jimmy, they were in on Tocchet. I have to think. Rick and Ronnie played together. There's a Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound thing. Ronnie played there. Rick played there. Pittsburgh Penguins winning the cup together in '92. There's a lot of tie-in there, Jimmy. You can ask your friend Kevin Stevens. There's a lot of tie-in.
Here, remember too, our good friend Rick Dollywall confirmed that they did interview him. They spoke to him.
I believe that. I totally believe it. But I don't know what direction they go.
That I can't figure out.
I don't know now, unless they're looking at it. They could be looking at an assistant coach that's still involved.
Yeah.
They could be. Chicago could be doing that. Mm-hmm. What about does anybody? What's going on with the Islanders? I know Bada was on. Chris was great with us, but what's going on?
There's a lot of craziness, right? We can agree. A lot of, misdirection, things going all over the place with what was going on with the GM spot. And then it got really quiet, right? I was thinking the same thing this morning, Pierre, when I was just reading up on the day's news, and I'm like, not much Islanders news out there. And it was dominating the hockey headlines for about 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden it's cold. I wonder what's going on. And maybe sometimes that's what happens, right? It gets silent before something happens. So maybe they're trying to keep it hush hush, and they're on the verge of something. They don't want to screw it up. I don't know.
I know Kenny Holland's going to LA.
Yep. Wonder where we heard that.
Surprised.
Yep. Yeah. He will be introduced tomorrow formally there. Congratulations to Kenny, who has been on this show twice. Yeah. We love having him on.
Who's been amazing.
I was going to say his enthusiasm will be welcome in LA for sure. He's clearly got such an enthusiasm.
Architect, here's what he's going to do. He's going to identify the strengths and weaknesses. He probably already knows them because that's just what scouts do. Good scouts, and he's a really good scout. Strength and weakness of the organization. How do we address our weakness? What are we going to do cap-wise? Like I guarantee it, he's already laid out what he wants to do.
Oh, yeah.
Biggest question is, does he keep Jimmy Hiller, who was his assistant coach in Detroit when Mike Babcock was there? Does he move on from that? And then what does he do with the internal infrastructure, the scouting staff at the pro level, the amateur level, and the development staff? And I can tell you this, and I don't ever listen. You know, Jimmy, I don't run with the herd, as you know.
Yep.
But what I can tell you, that development staff in LA has done a magnificent job.
They have.
They have done a tremendous job there. People can say whatever they want about, we miss on this pro or we gave this player away. The development guys don't make those decisions.
No.
They develop the players. Whether it's Matt Green or any of the other guys, I'm just telling you.
Yep.
They do a heck of a job there with development. They do a really good job.
I'll give a shout out too, and not just because he's a friend, but Mark Yannetti has now survived 3 regimes.
Hey,
I think
he's been aces for a long time.
And he's done a great job.
His father's quantified.
Father's a character, eh?
His dad's a very good friend of mine. His dad is, a Vietnam vet. His dad was a legendary prep school coach in New England at St. John's Prep.
Yep.
His dad did everything he could to help his boys be great hockey people, and they both became good hockey players and good. Obviously Mark went on to work, but Mark's done a really good job there. He's done a really good job there for a long time. But I just want to say everybody's going to poke fingers at the one thing in LA that cannot be questioned is their development staff.
Yep.
They've done a great job with development.
Agreed on that. All right, Pierre, let's get to these games today, and then we'll segue into my picks of the night. Another team, you told me on the phone, 2 teams still that you don't think can play their A game, the Dallas Stars, and that other team now is playing tonight, and that is the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 5. I think it's a good time for them to find that A game right now on home ice in a pivotal game. I like them a lot in this game. I'll get to that in my picks, but what is one thing, if you're pinpointing, you're just looking, identifying one area that you really want to see more of from the Maple Leafs, what is it?
Smarts with the puck. If they're going to stack the neutral zone, shoot it and retrieve. Don't try to dangle through the neutral zone. If they're going to be passive resistance in the neutral zone and give you time and space to make plays, then you carry it in. So I want to see really good decisions with the puck. I don't want to see them getting involved in post-whistle scrums. Stay out of that. You don't need to prove how macho you are. It's silly. Yeah. Florida's the king of that. I thought Washington would be their equal. They're not. Washington's not there yet. It's okay. They're developing. Florida's championship caliber all the way. Paul Maurice's done an amazing job, Jimmy. I've told you this both on the air and off the air. People are going to quibble with Paulie. I'm just telling you right now, he's done an amazing job. He does it with the media. He does it with his players. He does it with his staff. And more than anything else, I think he's done it with the referees.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This guy's done a fantastic job. Yep. He's slick as slick can be, and I say that in a respectful way.
Yes.
Not in a disrespectful way.
No. You might not agree with everything he does, but he does the job. He does it right. And
really good. And he sells it, and he sells it well.
And in terms of reading the temperature of a series and how it changes and the ebbs and flow of a series, I think he does a great job at that and adapting.
I agree. That's all part of it. That's all part of the package.
Yep.
So for Toronto, smarter with the puck.
Yep.
smarter in terms of shoot-ins, and do not get involved in post-whistle scrums. You do not get extra points because you show everybody how macho you are.
Be yourself.
You don't have to do that.
Plain and simple advice. Be yourself.
Florida loves it. They want you to engage.
Exactly.
They want you to engage. They want that.
You know what?
Did you see the line Barkov had about Domi? Somebody asked him.
Yeah, I didn't even see it.
He goes, I didn't see it. It's a playoffs. So it's kind of what I said to you. And again, I'm not quibbling with Paul. I've stood there. I know what he's going through. But I would not have had Barkov on the ice. I just would not. I would not have had him on the ice at that time. Why would you expose him to that? Tkachuk wasn't on the ice.
Yep.
He was talking to the Leaf bench.
Yeah. You know who Toronto should look at right now to learn a good lesson when you talk about not getting into that after the whistle stuff. Look at the Carolina Hurricanes.
Carolina Kings of that.
They've done a great job not biting on Tom Wilson in the Capitals.
Brenda Moore, Jeff Daniels, and Tim Gleason. You know what? Keep going, fellas. And I don't care what, you know what? The fans there, this is all for the people in Carolina. Don't pay attention to what the national media says. Don't pay attention to that. Who cares?
Who cares if your hockey's boring?
Lamoriello or Jacques Lemaire cared what they said? No. They didn't care at all.
If they win. They're not there to get
It's like Patrick Wallman and Jeremy Roenick. My good friend Jeremy kind of taunts me. He's like, I got my 2 Stanley Cup rings in my ear. I can't hear what Jeremy's saying. Jacques could bring all the Stanley Cup rings and plug up every orifice in his body if he wants. Come on. Who cares what they say? Just go play and win.
Yep, and that's what they're doing. And
do you think their fans are quibbling with the way they play? Their fans love them.
No, they are getting defensive on social. They're like, "Come on,
they're allowed to get. They can get defensive, but so what?
Your team's winning. That's
your team's winning.
Yep. Speaking of Carolina, Pierre, I just got a text from our good friend Trip Tracy. They are majorly delayed getting into Washington. He's still up in the air, circling. He says he's been doing this for a while, so we will try and get him on another time.
No,
for sure. I appreciate that he reached out to us. If you're watching us in the sky, get there safely, Trip, and enjoy the trip. All right.
I don't want him flying any planes. I'll let him drive me in the car. He's not flying me in any plane. I've known the Tripster too long.
There's enough air traffic controller stuff going on right now, right?
Hey, you know what? I'll just say this. I have a visitor where I am right now in Florida with my wife. Who flew from New York today, and his flight left LaGuardia 6 minutes early, and it landed in Florida where I am about 10 minutes early.
Wow.
And it was expedited perfectly, and I was like, that's good. That's good.
That's amazing, too, because, they're getting a lot. So I have a friend who flew out of Newark the other day, and Newark, he said, is empty because of all the air traffic control issues they have. So a lot of a lot of people that would have been flying out of there going to like JFK or LaGuardia. So he's lucky. That guest is lucky for sure.
Yes, that guest is lucky.
All right. Well, let's get to our.
He won't be lucky tomorrow when he's getting pounded on the beach. I know that.
Let's speaking of traveling and more specifically moving, if you're a company, you want to go to our good friends TCS Customs and Logistics, where you can unlock the full potential of your shipping operation and TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting, TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces, and delivering a peace of mind. For a no-obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast@shiptcs.com. Again, that is sickpodcast@shiptcs.com. And, of course, our wonderful friends over at Betway, where if you sign up for a membership right now, you can take advantage of a great welcome offer, and you can go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200, even if your first bet loses. So scan that QR code right in front of you to sign up, or if you're listening, go to the details section in the website, sign up for the account, and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. It is not available in Ontario. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 18 plus. Please play responsibly. All right, let's get to my sick pick of the night.
It's time for Sick Picks, brought to you by Betway.
All right, I'm going to start off with the Toronto-Florida game. First of all, I do like the Maple Leafs to win this game. They are underdogs at home in Game 5, understandably so, after Florida's won the last 2 games. You can get them on the money line at plus 120 value. If you want to take a bigger shot and say that they win in regulation, it means the game cannot go to overtime or you lose even if they win in overtime. But if you want to go bigger, they are plus 165 on the regulation line. But I'd suggest just go to the money line because you never know. It could be an overtime. Also in that game, the goal scorer props. He's under a lot of heat right now. And despite the fact that he's playing a 200-foot game and he's doing all the little things right, he can't buy a goal, Pierre. But I think the floodgates open tonight. And not only am I going to say that Austin Matthews, the captain of Maple Leafs, will score at plus 145 value. I'm going to take it a step further. He gets the first goal. And if you take that, you can get him at plus 1,000 for Austin Matthews to score the first goal. So those are my picks of the night from Betway. Let's get to the Q&A. What do we got? Ooh, sound the siren. Thank you very much. Pierre, we are racking up the spending money to take our listeners and viewers to McLean's Public House or West End Johnny's sometime.
You know what? I'd like to do in both places because both enterprises have been so good to this show.
They have.
Johnny Caron, I can't thank him enough.
Yep. By the way, I spoke to him the other day, Pierre. He said to say hello, and I might go in and see him on Sunday. They do if you're in the Boston area,
go for the brunch. The brunch is amazing.
Live reggae
brunch is huge there. Tell your Celtics to wake up too.
Yep. I'm gonna go check
Johnny out. That'll help him out.
Exactly.
What's going on at McLean's Public House? Do they have their Guinness flowing now?
I was just texting with Stu.
Okay.
And he knows that I know a lot of people in the music industry, and he said, "Hey Jimmy, I need a favor. Do you know any musicians that want to play a gig here on Friday? We had a guy cancel, so I've been running around trying to see if I can get him an act for Friday night, and I'm sure he will. What a great music.
I think he'll be more than great doing that.
Yep.
So the Guinness is flowing there too?
Guinness is flowing there. It's back.
Stu's a good man, boy. He's another good guy. Really, he's one of the good guys in the business. Stu is. He's really good. Yep.
Stuff. All right, let's go to our next question. What do we got? Bert L. Pierre, what things automatically remove a prospect from your consideration to be drafted? Any examples of guys you disqualified and were surprised got drafted by other teams that you can share?
I'll never say any of the names, Bert, unless it's a very positive thing. I won't say it in a negative way. I don't think it's appropriate to the kids or their families. But one of the disqualifiers for me, disrespect to a coach, disrespect to an official. And believe it or not, and this, some people will say, he's nuts. You didn't really do this. I most certainly did. Kids that were disrespectful to their parents. If I'd see them after a game and their fathers or mothers or both had traveled hours to get to watch the kid play a college game or a major junior game and the kid kind of punted on them, I really saw that as a character flaw. I really did. I know of a couple players that were really early draft picks that went on to have solid careers, but they never won. And I'm not saying they didn't win because they had character flaws, but I'm saying they're guys that I didn't want to draft because I didn't think they'd be part of a winning culture, even though they were great players.
I would be the same way. I think it's very important considering all the sacrifices hockey parents make.
I got to tell you this right now, and I don't like to go too deep. So I'm watching a 22-year-old kid sitting on a balcony right now with his mother, and they're not talking about hockey. They're talking about life. And it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
The one kid's taking his first steps into pro, and he's all gunned up and excited. And he's not talking about. He's talking about his mom and about life.
Good.
And I'm not allowed to be there. One, because I'm with you, but two, before this started, I wasn't allowed to be there.
Oh, all right. Well, they got to catch up.
Cool. They get it because they know what all I talk about. So that's my character flaw.
I wonder, Pierre, have you gone a conversation, let's say, longer than 10 minutes without hockey?
With my daughter, I have.
Yeah, daughter. Okay.
Yeah, with Justine, I have. But it eventually led to rowing. So yeah.
That's okay. That's a lot. All right. Next question. WPHL. Did Pierre work games on the Versus Network? If so, was there much of a difference between Versus and NBC?
Oh, huge, gigantic difference. Versus eventually morphed into NBC Sports Network. That was under the direction of Dick Ebersol and Sam Flood. It was an amazing honor and privilege to work there for 16 years. I worked for Versus, Mike Baker. At that time, I was working TSN and Versus. Billy Clement was our host in the studio. I worked next to Keith Jones in the studio.
I love Billy.
Did some games, but mostly was in the studio with Billy and Keith. I enjoyed working there. Mike Baker was a good person to work for. But then that morphed into, when NBC got the big deal, that morphed into NBC Sports Network. So the answer is yes, I did. Yes, I did.
It's interesting, Pierre, and I'll send them to you. There's a lot of, we talk a lot about the networks and broadcast, Pierre and I, and a lot of people are starting to say, man, we miss NBC. And a lot of them been throwing up. You can go on YouTube and find these, just the intros you guys used to do for your playoff games and how good they are. And I've forgotten how great they were. I mean, there was one from 2010 Stanley Cup final before game 1.
Chicago, Philly.
Yep. And Doc nailed it. It was just such a great intro. It got you so, like, I don't care if you're a hockey fan or not, that would have gotten you like involved. You would have wanted to continue to watch the game after that.
I hate to name drop, but I remember we had dinner like 2 nights before like game 1. And Dan Patrick, Doc, Sam Flood, Eddie, myself, Matty Marvin, who was an elite producer. There were probably like 7 or 8 of us, I'm going to say, that were there. And Doc, you could tell Doc was in the zone. Like, this was before he actually had a voiceover of that thing. Yep. Doc was in the, like, you know how you get there before a big game, you're like gunned up, you don't want to, you kind of get in your bubble. Wow. Doc was in his bubble. He kind of said, I got to go home. I want to go to bed early. Like, he was in his bubble. I remember. It was so good.
Oh,
that open was really good.
It was great stuff. All right.
He never had a bad open.
No.
The doctor never had a bad open.
Hey, Doc, if you're watching, we miss you.
Oh, he watches. He watches.
Right. Next question. Juice _031 017. How much did the Blues take out of the Winnipeg Jets in the first round? Great question of the playoffs. Now that the Jets are down 3-1 to Dallas, I think a lot.
Juice, way to go, man.
Good observation.
I don't know if Juice is a woman or a man, so I apologize. I'm not trying to be a smarty pants. I just, way to go. That's a great, awesome take.
Yeah. Here, you actually said the other day. You were talking about that.
Yeah, that was Jimmy. That was just a barbaric series. Like, Scheifele's got serious guts. That guy Morrissey to come back, Scheifele to come back. Yep. You look at the beatdown physically. Some of the better players on both sides of the ledger. Pretty nasty. So, I think that played a big role. But I also want to say this: it wasn't like Dallas had an easy series with Colorado.
Nope, both of them.
You know, and quite frankly, both teams could have lost. Yeah. Like, both of them could have lost their deciding games. I mean, let's be totally
series.
When you saw Nathan McKinnon in Game 7 in Dallas score to make it 2-0 in the first minute of the third period, there was no way.
No,
there was no way Dallas was coming back. That building was dead.
He admitted. He flat out said it in their closeout day. We thought we had it then. He's like,
I'm watching it because I had to work a post game show, and I'm going, oh man, like, they're toast. They're good. They're gonna get driven right through the ground here, and then it didn't. And then the Mikko Rantanen show kicked in.
Exactly. All right, next question. Gabriel Lamb, what's up, Gabe? Should Seattle consider Manny Malhotra for their coaching position? I feel like Vancouver messed up hiring Foote. Yes, Malhotra was a candidate for the Vancouver job.
Came down to those two. Those were the two.
I think, of course, looking anew. I think he's a great communicator with the players.
Yeah, and he's a really good person. Known him a long time. You know, he was part of the lost generation of New York Rangers. People forget that. He and Danny Blackburn were early picks, and there was nothing going on. And that was like the dead time for Ranger fans and Ranger players. And if you're a young kid being rushed into the NHL on those teams, it was a disaster. It's conveniently been omitted from a lot of the historical perspective of the New York Rangers. That was the lost generation of time for the Rangers. It was unbelievably sad to go into New York and see the young guys. They were basically cowering in the corner because there was nothing positive going on then. It was really sad to watch. It was really sad.
He was a tough player too. All right.
Hey, he was a really good player. Manny was a really good player.
All right, what do we got? Next question. Randy Workman, do you see the Flames keeping their first round picks?
So here's what I'd say. Jimmy's going to nod his head yes. I'm not going to completely disagree with what I'm going to say. It depends what the value of those picks are.
I was just gonna
Like, what's the value, Jimmy? What's the value of a pick in this draft? Because now, so to be fair, we've talked about how you want to have mucho early picks, between 10 and 20, because it's just not that draft. It's the players. They're all they're gonna play, but how long are they going to play and how much of an impact are they going to make? This is not the old.
Yeah, they're picking at 18. They got 18 and 22.
So what's the value of that? Like, what's a team value at that? I don't know. Unless it's a team that has cap issues that needs to move, a higher end salary and then bring in kids. So I don't know what the value of that is. And nobody does either because it hasn't been established yet.
No, it hasn't. And we've already seen a lot of picks that were moved at the deadline too. Why do you think that was, my friend? Because of everything you just said about the draft. Because I think after 10, basically, it's a mishmash right now.
So what happens?
It's all in the eye of the beholder after that.
Yes, it is. Jimmy's right on. So Jimmy, what happens? This is again inside baseball right now. Most teams have their amateur scouting meetings early to mid-January, sometimes late January into early February. But that gets you teed up for what happens in March, which is a trade deadline. And so after those meetings and they create their mid-season rankings, people are like, we got all these picks. We may not need them because I didn't like what I heard in my amateur draft meetings. And then you get the pro people involved. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is
what these picks can get us.
We need to get some artillery in here because it's not going to be coming from the amateur draft.
I definitely think Montreal is not keeping both their first rounders. I think one of them.
They're going to. Okay, just simple. I'm going to ask you, what's the number one need of the Montreal Canadiens?
Second line center.
Perfect. Don't go anywhere else. That's all you need to
establish that and then go from there.
Don't have to do anything else.
All right, next question. Alex Ivanovsky, how often does the business of hockey get in the way of what's best for the team on the ice in the NHL? The older I get, the more I see it. Alex, you're dead on there. It's so true.
Right on, Alex.
And it's not good when it does. It's not a good ending usually.
I've been in situations, Alex, where I'm working for different teams, and because of budgetary restrictions, and I don't blame the owners. How much you want to lose? And it came down to, well, we can get this player for 1.75. Or we can get this player for 2.75. It's $1 million swing on a 3-year deal. So it's a $3 million extra outlay to get this player, the extra one that we think is better. Not doing it. It's $3 million. I'm not doing it. So, and that not one stop. It's happened in a couple for me. That's just, and I'm not the only one. I can't imagine what Donnie Waddell was going through in Atlanta. Back in the day, I can't imagine what Phil Esposito was going through back in the day in Tampa. Like, there are a lot of those. Can't imagine what Randy Sexton and Ray Shore were going through in Ottawa. And it's not a knock on the ownership groups. It's just their money wasn't there.
The reality of the situation.
It's where the situation is.
Yeah, I think in Gabriel's saying, if we want to pull it up there, just to follow up on that, and we've talked about this, Pierre, how hard is it going to be for Winnipeg to field a competitive team on the ice due to the financial climate?
But you know what's cool about them, Gabriel? And we had their owner on last week. Mark Chipman was phenomenal. And awesome. When you see that, you say, okay, I trust this man.
He's going to find a way.
He's going to find a way.
To do his best, no matter what.
It's not about him loading his money in his pocket and walking out of town. He's from there. He lives there.
Yeah.
And the other owner, Mr. Thompson, he's got more than enough money. That's not an issue. So will they be able to maintain some of their stars? Maybe not. I don't know.
Some things they can't control, but they'll do their best.
Yeah, they'll do everything they can to make it work there. I thought his interview was so enlightening.
Oh, I loved it. Still getting compliments for it.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
All right, next question. Juice_031017. Did Cole Caulfield score 50 goals in the NHL one day? I think so. Do you, Pierre?
I'm going to say no.
Really? Why not?
because I don't think smaller guys like that can get through 82 games unmarked. Scoring 50 is hard, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Scoring 1 is hard.
Yep.
Scoring 50, and when you're not overly large, it's hard because you got to get to the net. It's just hard to get to the net. And once I said this last week to Tony Marinaro, our friend, I said, next year, nobody's sleeping on Suzuki, Slavkovsky, and Caulfield. Nobody's sleeping on them.
Oh, yeah.
This year, there were nights where people slept on them. Nobody's sleeping on them next year. I drew up enough plans. Nobody's sleeping on them. There might be some nights where the other guys get room because they're sleeping on them, but nobody's sleeping on those guys next year. No way.
They're going to have to adjust. All right, next question. Real Deal Prime, what's up? Question. Lou Lamoriello was spotted leaving the Buffalo airport with a bit of a swagger to his step. How big an addition would that be to the front office, and how many parades down Main Street will it be?
Okay, here's one thing about that. Now, just Lou was definitely there in Buffalo, but there are a couple different ways to look at this. One, he was in high-level meetings with ownership and Kevin Adams and maybe even, Eric Stahl. I don't know. And Lindy Ruff, maybe. Who knows? But there's an immigration office in Buffalo, New York. And I don't know. Maybe you had to go there to do some immigration work.
Interesting.
So I don't know what happened, but I do know that I've had 2 things presented to me. That's all I know.
Interesting, though, Pierre.
I'm sharing everything that I know.
And we appreciate it.
One is you could very well have been there meeting with, but then there's also, and I used to have to, when I worked at TSN and lived in Toronto, I'd have to go to the border crossing at the Peace Bridge to get work visas and papers to work on Canadian TV. So I'm just telling you, it's for professional sports and actors and actresses and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm just.
Interesting note. Remember, was it yesterday or the day before when I said that I was hearing, that they really would like to bring in somebody in a
why not?
Position?
We've talked about this for a long time. Why not?
And, well, we'll see. We'll see. Interesting stuff. We'll keep an eye on it.
Look as long as he's out of work, there's always going to be somebody saying Lou should be working.
Yep.
Just telling you.
Well, we wish him the best. All right, next question. Zahal, Jimmy, who is one prospect for Boston you don't think is talked about enough and deserves more recognition? Zahal says also same question for Pierre, but in Montreal. Thank you. Good. I'll say immediately Michael DiPietro, the goalie right now. I just don't think, at least in this media circle and this fan base, I don't hear a lot about him. And I know that's because they just locked up Jeremy Swayman, but the guy's done some amazing things this past season. He really did. And
I agree.
He's USA now, so we'll see.
I agree. For Montreal,
there's a lot to choose from.
There's so many. I'm going to say Sam Harris at Denver University.
Ooh, I like that.
I don't know how many people even know that Sammy's drafted by Montreal. He's a point producer. He's a goal scorer. I'm going to say Sam. I think most people know who most of the top guys are because they get so much love there. They should. Laval's had an amazing year. So I'm going to say Sam Harris. Jimmy, do you have his numbers in front of you? Sammy Harris?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay.
1 sec.
I know he had a big year goal scoring wise. Watch Denver a lot. They're a fun team.
He had 23 goals. He had 14 the year before and 23 this year.
Yeah, so there you go.
12 assists in 43 games.
That's in college hockey. That's a lot of goals.
Especially for
if you go over 12 goals in college hockey in one season, that's a lot of goals.
Born in San Diego, hockey hotbed of San Diego. Love it.
There's a lot of that going on now. You know, all those kids. Remember we talked about this with Commissioner Bettman, and I said to you, people be mad at him all. You can get mad at him all you want.
Nobody can dispute.
You can't dispute the non-traditional expansion.
Yep.
Texas, Florida, California, Arizona, Nevada, right? Non-traditional areas getting teams. Look at all the players that have been produced.
Yep.
Matthew Nyes and Austin Matthews are from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Exactly. Look
Josh
at
Doan. Josh Doan is from Arizona. They can go down and keep going. All these guys from all these different places.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at look at the Bouillon brothers. They're from San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
You know, keep going. Like, look at all these guys all over the place. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. He's done a lot for the grassroots level in this country.
Yep.
And I remember being out in San Diego. Well, now it's like 10 years ago at my sister's wedding, and there were a lot of rinks going up. There were a lot. All right. Next question. Ron LaRoque. Don't know if you watched the game, but what happened with USA Norway today? Wow, almost another huge loss. They were up 5-1 and held on to win in OT. Yeah. I'll tell you what happened. Jeremy Swayman played like he did all season. That's what happened.
I'll tell you what else happened. Tage Thompson was in fuego. He had a hat trick today, game-winning goal and a hat trick. He had the big right-hand cannon working today. He was blasting pucks. You know, Ron, don't overreact to preliminary games at the World Championships. One never knows what happened at team meals or anything else.
Yep.
Just don't overreact to pre-tournament, or not pre-tournament, but preliminary games at the World Championships. Having been at a few of them. Don't overreact. All right.
Next question. FFFF, the Mammoth Hockey Club has a black home uniform. Why not chocolate brown? Nobody in the NHL has brown. Too many teams already have black. Why does the league accept 1/5 of the teams using black? That's a good question. I don't know.
So I'll tell you why. Because they've done all these research projects
to what sells.
Nike and all these other places, and the number one color that sells is black. Why do you think the Kings went from those amazing uniforms? Remember the Triple Crown, the beautiful
purple and yellow?
Yeah, and they went to black and silver. Why do you think they did that?
And they veered away from it again, and they went back to it again.
I'm telling you, there's been so much research has been done on that stuff, and that's why. So the one thing I think is cool, I know a lot of people just want to watch their hockey at the NHL level. Trust me, the American League and the East Coast League, they're really good. The games are amazingly competitive, and they're so fast and furious. The Hershey Bears uniforms to this day are exactly what Ron just talked about, or FFF just talked about.
FFF, yep.
They're the chocolate brown uniforms. They're nice.
Cleveland Browns. All right.
They're nice. They're nice uniforms.
What do we got? Bert L. With the way coaching dominoes are falling, who do you see Chicago hiring? Outside of being an NHL job, are they an appealing destination to coaches? I think so.
Chicago's always going to be appealing.
Yeah.
Just because it's Original Six team. It's a major hockey market. It's a beautiful building. Their practice facility is very close. There's just so many positive things about Chicago for a hockey coach. And so your farm team's not far away in Rockford. So it's just, there's a lot there. I mean, that's a job where I think a lot of people would have interest. A lot of people.
And you get a potential superstar in the making there to coach. So
more than that, you got a couple on defense. You got one in goal. You got one in goal.
One in goal.
You got a lot of them making some good stuff going on there.
All right, next question. Juice_031017. Patrice Bergeron is arguably the best player from the 2003 draft. Why was he just a second-round pick?
Because he was small and there was questions about his skating, but Shea Weber was a second-round pick too. Pavelski went 205th.
It shows you how deep that draft was.
That was without a doubt, and I said it that year, and that's why I went nuts on the Islanders when they took Robert Nielsen and not Zach Parise. And just to compound it, San Jose, who picked before New Jersey, they took Steve Bernier, and I kind of punched them in the pants too. So, but look at all the guys that went in that draft. It's crazy. Corey Perry's still playing. Ryan Suter. Go look at all the guys. It's an unbelievable. David Back. It's like, go look at all the guys. It's just crazy how many guys from that draft played for a long time.
It's amazing. It's amazing, Pierre. It is.
So do I think Bergeron was the best player in that draft? I don't. But
he was up there.
He's really up there.
Yeah.
I mean, that draft was scary. Rangers missed. They took Hugh Jessamine. Montreal missed. Islanders missed. I'm just talking first round.
Yeah.
Everybody else kind of did okay. Some did obviously better than others.
It was a great
look at where Ryan Getzlaf was drafted in that draft. Go look where Corey Perry was drafted in that draft. Look where Brent Burns was drafted in that draft. It's pretty amazing. Like Brent Burns was drafted as a forward by Minnesota. He's drafted as a forward.
Amazing.
And it was Jacques Lemaire. It was Jacques Lemaire that said, you know what? This guy's a D-man. We're going to make him a D-man.
Yeah, Ryan Getzlaf with 19th overall at Anaheim.
Imagine him at 19.
Corey Perry, 28th overall. Yep.
It's a pretty amazing draft.
It is. Wow. Dustin Brown was at 13.
Yeah. He was
Draft.
Can't miss because of his forechecking. He was such a good forechecker.
Yeah, Nathan Horton was in that draft too.
Nathan was number 2, wasn't he? Or 3?
Three. Yep.
3. Stahl was 2. Flurry was 1.
Yep.
I'm working without a safety net here, Jimmy. So you gotta help me out.
You remember who the Canadians took in that first round? I'm sure you do.
He's a Russian player. That's all I want to say.
Mr.
He had a brother that played in the league too. How about that?
All right, next question. Randy Workman, you see Peter Laviolette involved in coaching next season?
I would be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I would be surprised.
All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, what can you tell me about Caleb
Desnoyers?
Why do I always want to say Desnoyers? Desnoyers as a potential center. Is he a first-line center?
He has the potential to be. A lot of it's going to come down to just body strength over time, but he definitely has the potential to be. Yeah, very creative offensive player. Comes from a big-time hockey family. His dad was a very tough guy, played for St. Hyacinth. Really tough guy.
All right, next question. Joseph Cohen, any major changes in Vegas if they eliminated this round? Yeah, we touched on this yesterday.
Touched on that yesterday, Joseph.
Do you think there will be? They don't wait around.
They don't wait around. They don't play nice.
No. Nope.
When the sandbox is not full of the right toys, they bring in the toys they want. That's how they do it. Right, Jimmy? I mean, they like the shiny
players,
object.
Coaches, management, everything.
They don't mess around. Look, you may not like that, but that's how they do it. And you know what? It's worked for them. I respect them for it. It works for them. They don't run with the herd. They do it their own way.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, how much money does Justin Wolf get on his next contract?
Good one. So not getting Shesterkin money, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Not going to get Vasilevsky money, I'm telling you that. It's hard to find a comparable for him, Jimmy. You're not getting Bobrovsky money. I think what's Knight going to get, Jimmy? Where's Knight at?
What's he at right now?
I think it's a comparable, but I don't know if he's got his new deal. I'm just trying to think of comparables. What Phil Gustafson at?
1 second. I'll tell you right now. So Knight is in the last year. He's making 4.5. He'll be an RFA next year.
All right. Yeah.
And then Gustafson. Let's see.
He might still be on his contract with Ottawa I don't know. No, probably not.
No, he's up next year too. He's a UFA though, not an RFA.
What's he at now?
3.7 right now.
How much?
3.7.
So you see, that's just working just without anything. So the look at where Knight is and look where Gustafson is. Their numbers are pretty close, Jimmy. Right?
Yep. So
that's kind of, I think, where Wolf's going to fit in.
Yeah.
Maybe a tinge higher, but not a lot higher.
Makes sense.
And last I checked, and this is for Randy, and I know people say, "What about the team in front of him?" Like, he's a good goalie. He's really good.
Oh yeah.
But has he played a playoff game in the NHL yet?
No.
Don't worry. I know. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, when will he play one? Actually, considering where he is now. So, all right. Next question. Jay Snow, what's the Devils' biggest off-season need?
I know what I'm going to say, but I want to hear what Jimmy has
I think they got to be tougher to play against.
Harder on I know they had injuries, but they got to add to that defense. But they're getting there. But they got to be harder to play against. So Jimmy's nailed that one, and I think they missed Brendan Dillard against Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
They missed Luke Hughes. Luke's not a thumper, but he's still robust. He's robust. They could use a little more nasty back there. I know Ziegenthaler's a little more nasty, but they could use a little more nasty back there.
Agreed.
And I think up front, a little harder to play against.
Yeah,
I agree. Bastion's tough though, Jimmy. Nathan Bastion's a tough kid. He's a tough kid.
Yep.
He's tough.
Good pick. All right, next question. Juice _031017. Pierre, how good of a leader captain was Mario Lemieux when the Penguins won back-to-back cups in 91 and 92?
Exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
Just not even I can't even begin to tell you the things that he did to lead by example. And when he had to say something, he said it, but he didn't have to say it very much because he was surrounded by great people like Tocchet and Francis and Coffey and Murphy and Mullen and Stevens and Tocchet and Recchi. There were a lot of guys that weren't afraid to say stuff. That was a unique dynamic in those dressing rooms. But everybody knew when the big boss talked, and it was obviously Mario, everybody listened. Jimmy, I think I've said this story before, and I'll make it really fast. I was taking half our team in 91-92 season to Denver, and then we were bussing up to Vail for training camp. Scotty had half the team in New York. They were playing the Islanders, and then they were flying out to meet us. And so there were no cell phones back then. And we got in late to Denver. We weren't on a charter. We were on a commercial flight, U.S. Air. And I called from a payphone. Sorry, I was going to say cell phone. And I called the office. And Craig said, you better call Scotty. And so I did. I said, Scotty, we're 2 hours late. What do you want me to do? He says, I don't give a poop. He didn't say it that nicely. He says, but this is training camp. Get him on the ice. I said, okay, that's all you got to tell me. So I went to Mario. I said, hey, Ace, I got a favor to ask. He said, what's that? I said, got to skate today. What can I do to help make this easier for everybody? He said, just get us some food. So I told the bus driver, first McDonald's or Wendy's or whatever you see that's fast food, pull over. So the driver goes, really? I said, yeah, just pull over. So they all had their per diem envelopes. They got in, they went in, they did their thing. I know Kevin was there. Kevin Stevens was at that practice. Yaromir was at that practice. Wow. Paul Coffey, all the big boys were there. You ask any of them, because they'll remember, nobody had ever seen Mario practice or play like that, ever. And I wish we had taped it. No, now it would have been taped. Oh, but there was no tape. There was nothing there. I think it was even a closed practice. I don't even think fans were allowed in, if I remember. But the pace was high. I had it going pretty good with the players, and they knew what we expected. And at the end of it, I skated up and said, hey, Ace, I can't thank you enough. He goes, well, I told you, just get us food and we practice well. That's what he did.
He did it.
It was unbelievable. So I told, years later, I told Mario's children that story. And they were like, did that really happen, Dad? And he's like, yeah, I kind of think it did happen. They didn't believe that had happened, but it did. He was an amazing leader. Long story short, he was unbelievable. Unbelievable guy.
That's awesome. Was that at the old that old rink that was like a horse stable or whatever, way out in the middle of nowhere there, Pierre?
So that rink that we practiced in was right downtown Vail. It's still there, and it was called the Evergreen Lodge. We stayed right across the street at the Evergreen Lodge, which is still there. And then I remember at training camp, we were good. Like the guy feeling good, right? We had won the cup the year before. So guys were feeling good. And I remember we went out to this restaurant called the Minturn Country Club. It's still there. It's still outside Vail. Yep. And it's one of those, it's like a butcher shop. You walk in and you say, I'll have that piece of meat. And then they'll say, you want it this thick, this thick. And then they put on the scale and they cook it for you right on a barbecue. Wow. And then they bring it to your table. So some of the boys were getting like these big things.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was amazing.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign when a team comes back like that after it
was so good.
Summer.
Those were the days where guys, they were like, we're taking you out for dinner. Really? You guys are taking us out for dinner? Thank you. I don't have to put my per diem in? No. You don't have to put your per diem in. I got the card. Wow. I got the team card on your check. And then if they want to yell at me, they can. Oh.
That's awesome. Good stuff. All right, next question. Juice_031017. Do the 2015-16 Tampa Bay Lightning win the Cup if Stamkos and Ben Bishop were healthy? Took the Penguins to 7 games despite them barely playing the Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of know the whole deal. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't, even if those guys were healthy, I don't think Ben was better than Matt Murray back then. I don't think he was. And Crosby and Malkin still had a game plus. They did. They had a game plus, and they had huge shutdown capabilities. Brian Dumoulin back then, nobody even talked about it. Like, Brian Dumoulin was really good. He is really good back then.
He's still going. All right, next question. Gabriel Lamb, will Matthew Darsh ever get the GM job? I do hear his name with the Islanders. I hear the same, Pierre. Gabriel, we'll see, but I haven't heard it. Like we said earlier, I haven't heard any updates in a few days on the Islanders.
I've seen Matthew out on the road scouting a lot. I know he works hard at his job. He's a good person. He's very highly educated. Went to Choate Rosemary Hall, which is an elite prep school in Connecticut, Wallingford, Connecticut. He went to McGill University. Like, Matthew Darsh, really educated, smart guy. He really, truly is. I think he'd be a good general manager in a lot of different situations. I just don't know. Jimmy and I have talked about it, Gabriel. I apologize. We don't know what's going on with the Islanders. Like, they've kept it pretty quiet, I think.
It's gotten pretty quiet there, so we'll see. All right, next question. Gabriel Lamb again. When does this do the Sens get their new arena? Seems like after 2030 at least. Yeah, I'm with you, Gabe. There's a lot that has to happen there.
Well, first of all, they need to get a building permit.
Yep.
And LeBreton Flats is contaminated land.
So
I've lived the dream there. They got to clean it because it used to be a tannery. Back in the day when they'd float all the fur down the Ottawa River, that's where they would process the furs.
Mm-hmm.
And so all those chemicals seeped into the ground. So it's a bit of a problem, and it's not going to be easy to get done there. I'm just telling you.
At least 5 years. All right, next question. Oh, that's it. Shane just said it's it. My bad. Great questions today. And again, we will get Trip Tracy on soon in the future. Hopefully he got there safely, and lots of good games today. Thanks to Shane for working the boards up there in Montreal. Thank you,
Jimmy. Before you go, I want to say thank you to 2 guys that I did a show with last night. It's called Hockey Night in Scottsdale. Jordan Schmaltz and Rob Gucci.
Yep.
Jimmy, they're gentlemen. I had such a good time on their show. They're really good hockey men. Jordan was a first-round pick of St. Louis.
Yeah, I remember.
Really good people. And so if you get a chance, they run their show. It's usually around 7 o'clock Eastern. Really good people.
Yeah.
Give it a listen.
For all that follow me on Twitter there or X, whatever, at Murphy's Law 74, I posted it up earlier today, so you can.
Oh, did you? Oh, yep. You're such a good partner. They're really good people. I had a blast with them. So I want to tell you that. And then tomorrow, I just got them when I was talking to Jimmy. CBS Sports doing hits at, I will tell you right now, 12:30 and 3:15.
Okay, those are live. Yep.
On CBS, breaking down games. So
check
they really care, Jimmy. We've talked about it.
I know.
They are starting to really get a passion for hockey. They care.
Yeah,
it's
interesting.
So,
all right.
Thanks.
Good stuff there.
Jimmy.
Enjoy the hockey tonight. We appreciate you tuning in, and we will talk to you tomorrow on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
Yep.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.